The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Get ready to dive into the comic book realm where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art of source material and tear the panels apart. Welcome to the source material show now. We don't hold back, we won't let you down. From Batman to Spider-Man, it's all fair game. We'll talk about the heroes, the villains, and everything in between. Oh yeah.
Have you considered doing a source material live, like updated version of that song?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have actually. I got a whole folder full of like source material songs that I made back in like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and that's one of them. So it's
Like
a good idea.
It still has that like warble in there.
Oh yeah, oh the old classic pseudo warble. But
What'd you think of Master of Ovens?
oh, it was good. It was good. There was a couple standout tracks. Make them say has been played a couple times today. As a matter of fact.
So, do you know what Make Him Say is about? What is the style?
Is this some Master P?
Yeah.
Make them say never big Master P fan. However, it completely works.
Yeah.
In that song.
So, I've always had this thought of like doing a cover of Make Him Say
Mhm.
but it's like done by death metal guys, and the video is all heavy metal guys that look like Pete Steele playing basketball badly. They're like missing dunks, like throwing up bricks, and it's all like gothed out metal guys.
Nice.
Make them say, and it's all like death and metal. It'd be great.
I liked it. I thought it was really good.
It was Master of Ovens was prompted, essentially, inspired at a time when I didn't quite know how to do AI covers yet. I hadn't figured it out. So Master of Ovens was intended to be a covers album, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I kind of abandoned the idea initially. That's why Hot Chocolate's on there. That's why Master of Ovens is the way it is, because I couldn't quite figure out how to do a real cover.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends up being kind of like a Weird Al, like this song inspires this song in its style.
Right.
It's like more style covers. But I quickly even moved away from like. There's definitely song inspirations for them, but I got away from the direct like parody. And it was like, what do I want this song to be about? So Make Him Say is written from the point of view of Abdullah the Butcher, telling you about his barbecue and Chinese food restaurant in Georgia.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember there's a couple references I was listening, and I was like, I feel like I know what's going on here, but interesting.
Yeah. That's supposed to be Abdullah the Butcher telling you in rap about his restaurant.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I'm not sure if the restaurant gave people hepatitis or not. I just heard that Abby's House of Ribs and Chinese food did at some point exist. I don't know if it still does.
Yeah. And I noticed that Master of Ovens, you were talking about how you couldn't do the covers thing yet. That song clearly had the flavor of Master of Puppets lyric as far as lyrical structure goes.
Yeah, and basically Hot Chocolate was this funny idea. That was the first cover I tried doing. It didn't work. I abandoned it, but I still wanted to do something with Hot Chocolate because my kid, when she was doing her touring choir, they performed Hot Chocolate, and there was too many girls, and they were shifting places, and it looked like a fucking mosh pit to me. So the joke became like Hot Chocolate, and like elbow the girl in the fucking head. And I was like, I'm gonna play with this idea of like, like Hot Chocolate being just like war cry. So I remember like when I put it together, I was just like, this has to be fucking balls to the wall. It's like I dropped my cereal, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then it's it kind of took on a life of itself. Grains and grease is beans and cornbread done as a thread. And I was just like, what if jazz, but also thrash? Grains and grease. But it was actually also like a commentary on like global conflict.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of commentary throughout this album that I heard. And then some of it is just like, well, done with the commentary now. Let's do Zombie Chicken.
Okay. Let me just quick walk through these. Since you're bringing that up. So Master of Ovens was commentating on like the entire chef and restaurant, reality TV, Master Chef, Hell's Kitchen, and how I really wanted to comment on how like Dave Ramsey and all these people put all these like pressure on chefs, and they put pressure on themselves, and it's so amped up for television. So that's what Master of Ovens is about, like that kind of tension between people who are just trying to make good food and the pressures of like creating dramatic reality television out of cooking.
Okay, now tell me about Man versus Food.
That is literally me just talking about the show Man versus Food.
That's what I thought.
That's it. There's nothing more to it than that. It was just like, I want to do a Slayer song. What goes with Slayer? Oh, how about like the whole concept of man versus food? And like, this poor Adam, whatever his name, Adam Richmond trying to shove down these giant portions of food and not kill himself in the process.
Yeah, that guy, man. I remember. I think he stopped doing the show at one point just because I don't think his health.
It lasted 3 seasons, and the 3rd season he stopped doing the food challenges. Like he did the tourism part, but he refused to do the challenges anymore. He would invite people on to do the challenge with him.
That's right.
I remember that. Couldn't do it anymore. Yeah, him doing the challenges lasted 2 seasons. So I kind of wanted to do like performative food eating challenges and how crazy that got through Man versus Food, and that's like a Slayer song basically. Soft Power Sushi. I wanted to do a Baby Metal song.
Baby Metal.
Yeah, I also was thinking about how we dropped I literally said this to the AI. We dropped 2 atomic bombs, 2 nuclear weapons on Japan. And look at us now. We buy their cars. We read their comics. We watch their shows. If you talk to most kids and you were like, what percentage of the media you consume is from Japan? 50%?
It could be. Yeah.
More maybe. It's like Japan in a lot of ways conquered American culture through soft power. So I was like Baby Metal, and let's interrogate this idea of Japan's culture kind of winning the war against America. Like we may have bombed them, but like what do we celebrate? We celebrate Godzilla.
I know. I'm going to throw a reference out there to you. Back to the Future 3. Doc is at the DeLorean. They're trying to figure out how to fix it. And he pulls out this little chip and he goes, well, no wonder this thing failed. This thing's made in Japan. And Marty looks at him and says, what are you talking about, Doc? All the best stuff's made in Japan.
Right. What was the next one after Soft Power Sushi? Hang on.
Oh, I do not have it up here.
All right, let me get it for you. Soft Power Sushi Roll. Okay. So talked about that. What Do We Eat is Michael Pollan's Omnivore's Dilemma.
Okay, you've talked about this book.
I've talked about this book a lot.
Yeah.
It was a New York Times bestseller. I don't know if it won the Pulitzer or not, but he kind of looked at like the 4 quadrants of eating. The book kind of ends with processed, manufactured, like fast food. So the central question that starts the Omnivore's Dilemma is, what do we eat? And it kind of looks at different ways that we get food to the table. So it looked at farming, it looked at hunting, it looked at gathering, I think, and then it looked at process. So like the process chapter is them getting McDonald's and eating it in the car.
There's a lyric in one of them that talks about, do we remember the farmer or something like that? And I can't remember.
From What Do We Eat?
Okay,
that's from What Do We Eat? Yeah. So the musical inspiration is "Are You Dead Yet" by Children of Bodom.
Okay, pretty popular song.
Yeah, it's like a lot of stuff. It's like whatever was in my head at the time. I was just like, okay, that, but let's do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Beef Wellington. So I'm halfway through making this album. Like I did this whole thing on the Suno app in bed on at night, one night. Like,
it's fun. I mean, when you got time to kill, you got time to kill.
Yeah. So I did almost the entirety of this album in bed next to Erica on my phone. So I'm thinking about like how Fra Diavolo started. And I was like, this is supposed to be what if we read a recipe, but it was a song.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole concept of Fra Diavolo, which I have now gone so far away from. I'm like, let's get back to basics. What is Fra Diavolo? Fra Diavolo is take a dish, make it a metaphor for something, sing a song.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what is the most complex like meal to make? And the day I was like, probably Beef Wellington. That's fairly complex, and that isn't creme brulee. I'd already done a creme brulee song, so I was like, what else is there? Like, well, Beef Wellington. And I was like, okay, that, but Rage of Light.
Okay.
Do you remember Rage of Light?
This is
the EDM death metal band.
Yep. I remember we reviewed a video of theirs, or if not a few of their videos.
Yeah, we did one of their albums, and then I think we did like a Metal Hammer
cover.
Review, of Candyman.
Yep.
I think we might have also talked about Twilight of the Thunder God. So I was like, okay, I want to make an EDM death metal song about Beef Wellington and the complexities of it. That's it. That's the whole song. Not a lot of the stuff is not a lot of the stuff is complex. Okay, so the zombie chicken thing. I wanted to do it's funny that we just did the Rob Zombie review last weekend because it reminded me like, oh, that's right, I was doing a Rob Zombie song here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to think of like what styles haven't I done? What do I like that I haven't worked with yet? Like, oh, I really like the one Rob Zombie album, Hellbilly Deluxe. I like Dracula. I like Living Dead Girl. I'm like, let's do a Living Dead Girl song. And then I remembered a PC Live report, one of the very early ones that talked about the zombie chickens. These were like composted chickens that had somehow been like charged with electricity, and they were like still up and walking around. Like, I don't remember the entire story, but basically dead chickens were reanimated.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There was a whole article about it on worldpoetry.net. So I was just like, perfect. I found the article from 20 years ago. God bless the internet.
Did you really?
And I literally am like, read this article to ChatGPT. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, great. Now make this a song. And that's Zombie Chickens. And based off of Living.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my comment on Suno, but there will be a song that is Zombie Chicken versus Chicken Nugget Vampire, and it is going to be it is going to absolutely kill and slay. So it'll be fun.
You should do what is it? The fucking mashups.
Oh yeah. Oh dude.
Yeah, you should totally do a mashup of Zombie
I ought to
Chicken.
try that. Yeah, that'd be fun.
If you can do it with somebody else's stuff, absolutely. You have my permission to mash up Zombie Chicken with Chicken Nugget Vampire.
Yeah, I think as long as it's marked that, because I've
well, the other side is you could use my Chicken Nugget Vampire.
True. Yeah, I mean we could do that too. I mean you just mash up both of those.
Yep. All right, and then lastly, here comes the gravy pipe. How do I explain this? So there's a cartoon, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon from way back in the day, where Bugs Bunny is not in it, but it's a Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes.
Bunny, right. Where this cat keeps stealing from a butcher to give to this dog that's bullying the cat, and every time the cat brings it something, the dog acts like a woman, and it's just like not good enough, So it's like, what? No gravy is the line that it always says, and like finally the cat gets the dog to just break into the butchery, and the dog stuffs itself. It's like its belly is distended, and it's like you can't get up. It's like it's on his back, and the dog's like, "Oh my god," because he ate everything in the butcher shop. So then the cat and the mouse go over to him, and the dog's like, "What are you doing?" and they like lock the door. The lights dim because this dog's been fucking with this cat for so long.
Oh
The
man.
cat's just like, this time we didn't forget the gravy, and they shove a fucking pipe in his throat.
Oh no.
Dump gravy down it, and he fucking explodes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this time we didn't forget the gravy is a real ominous fucking line.
Wow.
So I had this like concept of just like I want to do a Sabaton song, which,
Okay.
which if you listen to it, it's fairly obvious it's Sabaton.
Mm.
That I was just like I want to like it's my big ending song. It concludes the album. I want to go out big. So I'm like, we're doing Sabaton. We're doing Over the Top. Like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna flood the earth in gravy because I want because the other line that connects to this is Patton Oswalt doing a bit about I think it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Ruth's Chris. It's a famous steakhouse. I'm not sure if it's Ruth's Chris because he's talked about that one or if it's a different one where he's like, where the portions have gotten out of fucking control. So the entire bit is Patton Oswalt going, like I'll just have a garden salad. Oh, you'll suck a dick on the New Jersey Turnpike before I bring you a garden salad. Here's a deep fried pumpkin filled with scallops, and here's our elephant steak.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, and then bend over, Daisy May, because here comes the gravy pipe.
Wow, jeez.
So between those three things, I was like, all right, here's my Sabaton song. We're gonna flood the earth in gravy, and we're gonna scream to the gods. Here
I love,
gravy. Here comes the gravy pipe.
Back in the day when we
Mhm.
printed CDs, there were sometimes you got a little bonus in there. You might be able to see liner notes or things of just post the conversations you had with ChatGPT and just see what comes. Here you go. Here's my prompt. All right.
So that was that one. That album I'm particularly proud of because it is every mistake I've made corrected.
Trying to improve on it. Nice.
Yeah, like from Recipes for the Damned to Holidays Are Hell to Grandma's Country Kitchen. I was like, what have I learned about doing this at this point? So this is the fourth album, and it's better than I think the previous three in that I learned a lot about the process by this point, what to do, what not to do, and how much control over the AI I needed a lot. Because the AI will go, like I said before, when we did talk about the Metal Hammer of Doom, it'll just do its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you let it, and then it's really not your project anymore. I haven't started it yet. I'm working on a fifth one that's going to be out in the summer.
Okay.
And it's going to be all like a variety of different folk metal songs, and it's all like it's all inspired by like world cuisine dishes.
Ooh,
so
okay.
Dishes from around the world kind of inspiring the song, and the songs are like the stories of those dishes.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
that'll actually be really cool.
Right, and then it's the folk music of that
region.
Of that cuisine.
That's really cool.
So if it's Chinese, it's gonna be like Chinese folk metal. If it's Norwegian, it'll be Norwegian. That'll be an easy one. I have it all set up. I haven't had time to work on it. Doing other stuff, been doing songs like "Let's Get Pancakes" on my other project, or gearing up fucking Rattledge and Broadcasting, or doing songs for your National Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
I hung out with her Friday night. By the way, did you see? I also have a song coming out called "Naked Swimming."
Yes. Oh, I've heard it. Yeah, you sent it to me, and I listened.
Right. What'd you think of that one?
I was telling Mindy, I was like, I can't this is very gentle and then it's funny because when you listen to the lyrics,
mm-hmm.
you're like, because I'm expecting it to be a big joke, and you're like, kind of, it's a commentary about how everybody else makes it a joke when
mm-hmm.
it's really just something you do to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So
it is my fucking therapy, dude. Like, I get it. Walking around, a bunch of naked people in various shapes and sizes doesn't seem like it would be relaxing, but it is for me.
Right.
And sitting in the warm water after I've sat in a fucking chair for 40 hours in a week, like, it's soothing. I feel weightless, which is really important when you're a big fatty. And it's just just being naked in warm water for a couple of hours. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
I love it. And I made sure I did two things. I was like, I acknowledge that when I talk about it, it upsets you guys or like makes you like, I don't want to think about fucking Mark naked.
Let's change the subject.
Yeah, I acknowledge that, but I also acknowledge that when I'm there, it's great because like I spend the entire week talking to people. I have to like I am a professional at bringing conversation out of people, so I can try to help them. I'm a therapist.
Right.
Then I do this in the evenings. It's great, and I said this in the song. It's great to be there and not have to talk to anybody, but not be alone. Like I don't want isolation, but I also don't want to have to talk to people. So I'll just sit in the conversation pool and listen to conversations around me and be just as entertained. But the one thing that and again, it's like, well, when in Rome, like you go to a clothing optional resort that is very popular amongst the swingers, and it's like, you ever go to like if you go to a comic book store, everyone's just talking comics, and sometimes you start to think to yourself, is this all you do? Is this all you are? Your entire personality is comics? It's that, but fucking people. Okay, it's that, but swinging. And it's like all they talk about is like the different places they've gone, and I've had those conversations myself, just to try to get to know people. But like, I've seen people who are residents there. Like, there's a neighborhood that's attached to it. So there's like the resort, and then there's a nudist neighborhood,
right?
And so they all come over to enjoy the resort, like you would if, like, it was an over 55 community, and they'll just talk incessantly. I just hear the conversations around me, and it's all just like, oh, we went to this place, and we went to that place. Oh, we were on a cruise, and one guy was talking to me and Erica, and he was just like, yeah, we're swingers, but we kind of keep our swinging in the afternoon because we got shit to do in the evening, and we're early sleepers. They're like, we'll fuck you in the morning, we'll fuck you in the afternoon, but when it gets to night, we got shit to do.
Yeah, we got things we got to take care of.
Tired of people. We're older now. It's like nothing is sexier than the early bird swinging special.
Nice.
I'm gonna make a song out of that. The early bird swingers.
Oh, that is ripe for it right there.
That really is. Hey, did you want to talk about comics tonight?
Well, I guess we could.
All right.
I mean,
It's
I
your
don't
show,
know.
After all,
This is the Source Material Comics Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here to bring an end to the Bruce Wayne saga that was Murderer and then Fugitive. So we talked last time we had a discussion. Bruce Wayne Murderer had ended, I think, like shortly before we actually were able to get into further issues in the podcast. So basically we had, I think, Bruce Wayne Murderer lasted for like 10 issues, maybe 11 or something like that, and then Fugitive took over. So we actually started Bruce Wayne Fugitive on the last podcast that we did. This is a continuation of that pretty much. So Mark, I mean, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add in regards to like, okay, hey, other than this is a continuation, you had this second book on your shelf. We're making our way through Batman, Bruce Wayne, Fugitive, Murderer, whatever you have you there. Anything else you wanted to add before we get into our first part?
I don't want to get too far ahead, but I will say this. I get aggravated with people, like She-Hulk being the She-Hulk television show being a really good example of this, of everyone kind of hates Jen Walters at the start of that show because she's a twat. And I said, give it a chance. She's probably on a hero's arc where she'll be better than she was when she started. And lo and behold, I mean, it wasn't good enough for people. They were determined to hate the show no matter what. But she is. By the time that show ends, she's better off than when she started. I made a big deal in the last episode about how giving up the Bruce Wayne identity was the coward's way out. And the second book proved that you got to go for the ride.
Right.
That his decision to give up Bruce Wayne, he ends up confronting in this volume, and and he kind of reconstitutes both sides of his personality by the end of this. And I think he gave a rational, when he finally starts talking, he gives a rational explanation for why he did away with the Bruce Wayne identity beyond what I was sort of projecting onto him. So I think it's important. I think it's just a note. It's really important to go for the ride of your main character to see if it's going to resolve itself before you condemn their shitty behavior, because as Dave keeps reminding me, if everything was cool and worked out, there wouldn't be much of a story.
True.
You know, if they face no obstacles and they are fully, this is the conversation we have about a lot of modern writing and women characters, where they're fully formed at the beginning and go on no journey. They learn nothing. They're not better off by the end.
Mhm.
You know, like, and I could be accused, I think, of in the first episode of this podcast, not giving the Bruce Wayne character, Batman character, a chance, but I can only react to what I saw, and what I saw. I mean, it's not like they resolved it quickly enough within that volume to where I got a satisfactory. I think it's the problem with like just comic books overall, is that they can extend this for so long that you don't feel like you have an arc. It's just like, well, it's been a few years now, and we've been shitty for a while, so hey, it's time we bring it on home.
Well, I think there's an argument also that remember we had a discussion about the extra books that they had in the trade that you have, where there was a trade that was I think a few years earlier that was released, and it was pretty much the core of the story. And it's like they took a lot of extra stuff that really unnecessarily didn't need to be in the trade that you had. So it was quite a journey, because there was a lot of like rabbit holes and stuff we went down. Peking Duck Batman being one of them.
I'm very excited to see what song tonight's show will. I don't have the objection that I had to Peking Duck Batman, but, you know, in this book, like this book is really tame by comparison.
Right.
I will say this. I'm going to let you lead your own show and discussion here, but my only last thing I want to add is Murderer, I think, was a much meatier story. Fugitive it resolves the mystery well enough. Though I do have one complaint about that, but ultimately I don't think it's the weaker of the two volumes. I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. We'll get into part one. So I divided this up semi-equally. This is how we're going to do things tonight. So our first part's going to be the first 6 parts of Bruce Wayne Fugitive. That's going to be Birds of Prey number 43, Batman 603, Batman 604, Detective Comics number 771, Batgirl number 29, and Batman Gotham Knights number 30. And I'll put all the creative teams in here post edit, but this is a book that, again, we're in the middle of. And
take out 20 minutes of us talking about AI music and clothing optional resorts.
What will not be what got cut. This is middle of 2022 when this first part starts of Bruce Wayne Fugitive. And then our second part that we're going to be talking about tonight, I'm only doing 5 issues. And then third part will be a total of 7 issues. But I broke those up because when we get into the third part, it's almost like those last 7 are a big epilogue, kind of talking about some of the stuff that's happening after this has all been resolved. And but yeah, we'll get to it. So let me go ahead and start with the synopsis here for part 1. So in these 6 issues, we follow multiple threads tied to the Bruce Wayne Fugitive storyline, showing both the effort to prove Bruce's innocence and the psychological toll the ordeal has taken on him and his allies. Oracle, Nightwing, Alfred, and others quietly build a strong case suggesting Bruce was framed, pointing to tampered evidence and suspicious intrusions, but lack proof that can hold up publicly. Meanwhile, Batman's investigation uncovers a conspiracy that stretches from organized crime into government agencies, including the NSA, including an NSA operative tied to the White House, reinforcing that Bruce's framing is part of something far bigger than a simple setup. On a more personal level, Bruce is struggling with his identity as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. Encounters with figures like dying detective Gary Sloan and moments in Crime Alley force him to confront the meaning of his mission and his parents' legacy. His actions, such as taking bullets to save a criminal, ultimately lead him to reaffirm his moral code and accept that Batman and Bruce are not separate identities, but one unified purpose. However, this clarity comes alongside darker behavior as his increasingly violent methods and emotional detachment start to alarm those around him. At the same time, the Bat Family wrestles with doubt and loyalty. Nightwing and Batgirl attempt to reconstruct Vesper Fairchild's murder, finding evidence of a highly skilled killer, but nothing that definitively clears Bruce, forcing them to choose trust over certainty. Elsewhere, Jean-Paul Valley, his unstable return as Azrael, creates further chaos, culminating in a brutal confrontation in the Batcave that highlights just how close Bruce is losing control. How close Bruce is to losing control. Across all these threads, the story builds a sense of convergence, multiple players, hidden agendas, and deepening mysteries, all circling a truth that remains just out of reach. So where we stop is just before Azrael, the Azrael issues kick in.
I
At
didn't
least
realize Azrael's still kicking around. Like, it was a big part of Nightfall, but Nightfall was what, 20 years ago?
Yeah. And dude, this is like the two parts that we get here. And in the next, well, I should say in the next thing that we're going to talk about is Azrael, Agent of the Bat number 91 and 92. So that means that book has been around for a good bit going into 2002.
I'm going on Google Gemini right now. Make a timeline of Batman, Nightfall, No Man's Land, and Bruce Wayne,
Murderer/fugitive.
murderer turned fugitive.
So Nightfall was like 92, I want to say. Let me know if I'm off on that when it comes up. But I want to say Nightfall was 92 or 93.
All right, so the Nightfall saga. By the way, have you ever picked up the trade of the Nightfall saga? It is a fucking weighty tome.
I was going to say, pick it up. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, it's about the size of a goddamn phone book. So that's 1993 through 1995. No Man's Land is 98 to 99. Bruce Wayne Murderer Fugitive is 2002.
Okay.
So this whole like saga is basically 1993 to 2003. It's a 10-year Batman saga. And it's one of my like problems with not knowing that going into this, because it's the third part of a Batman trilogy when you think about it.
You could say that.
There's Nightfall, then there's No Man's Land, then there's this. This is the conclusion. And we're going to find out that events in Nightfall directly played into this storyline. And I'm bringing up, and like, well, why do you keep bringing up Nightfall? Because Azrael's still around. And
yeah.
I don't think we've ever talked about Nightfall. I don't think we've ever. I think the thing that most people think about Nightfall is it's the breaking of the bat. But the whole story is Azrael takes over for Batman for a while. And in the year that he takes over Batman, he beats the crap out of people. Like,
he does.
Way brutal. And he's also like schizophrenic. So eventually Dick Grayson, while Batman is like healing and going through that whole process elsewhere, Dick Grayson finally has to like confront Azrael and beat the fuck out of him and take back the mantle. So like the second and third year of that storyline is Dick Grayson as Batman, and then Bruce coming home and reclaiming the mantle.
Yeah, I was going to say, so we got Nightfall, I think Night's Quest, and then Night's End, if I remember correctly, or maybe it could be.
Still have it up. Yeah, it's Prelude to Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End.
Yeah. I read a little bit of Nightfall, and I never got into. I kind of stopped like shortly thereafter that, so I knew some of the big stuff that you were just talking about happened, but I've never read those issues.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is. I mean, if we're getting into the issues, issue 90 of like Asbats, I mean, shoot, that's. If you're doing 12 issues a year, 10 years would be 120. So you're 30 shy of that. So Azrael's, just like you said, still kicking around. I mean, this has been, so this continues on. That's one of my second notes here was like seeing Azrael at the end of this arc here, before we get to chasing him in his story, watching him show up and then Nightwing be like, oh, what the hell is this guy doing? And he is brutal. Just like you said, he's still like beating the crap out of people. He's
having like active hallucinations of like
Saint Dumas.
Of like some like Knights Templar, as a skeleton telling him like kill the Batman, kill Bruce
Take back
Wayne.
the skull, take back the cowl.
Right.
Take back the cowl. Yeah.
And telling him like, oh, he killed that woman. That was the other thing. It was like this hallucination was telling him that Bruce, the Batman, was guilty.
And it's almost like he's got Jean Paul's got like this dissociative situation.
He's schizophrenic.
Right. Like he will wake up from these visions and not know what he's done.
Right.
Like that. There's a point where I think in the next books where he does like, he wakes up and he doesn't know how he got there.
Yep.
So
that is a feature of dissociative identity disorder. So if it's not completely schizophrenia, it's definitely that, because he's blacking out and an entirely other personality is taking over.
Right. The only other note I had here is probably something that you definitely wanted to speak on, and that's, we have two great issues that happen in these 6. One of the stories is called Turning Point, and the other one is called Reasons. Turning Point is the one where he gets to go and he goes back to Crime Alley. He goes and talks to the cop that is about to die, and his cop, this cop doesn't know, because Batman goes and talks to him. Bruce doesn't, because Batman is not Bruce, and he will not take it's like he sleeps with the mask on, which that's kind of kinky, but he goes and he talks.
Do you think he's like Vader and just like never watches it?
It's
fucking
mankind.
Batman fucking stinks.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's a very good possibility. But anyway, he shows up there as Batman and he talks to this guy, and he talks about how this detective was one of the first detectives to show up after Martha and Jonathan had gotten killed. So it's at that point where there's some cracks finally in the whole Batman accepting Bruce Wayne again.
Yeah.
And then I think Reasons is where he shows up, and I think he's hanging out with Catwoman. And they're chasing down this criminal, and this is after he's had this conversation. And he goes to save Tony the Turk Rayonchek, who is a mobster who'd been abducted by one of Joker's goons that's been running around, and he actually jumps in front of a bullet for this guy, and Catwoman's like, "What are you doing? Why would you do this for a criminal that you shouldn't even waste movement on, shouldn't even waste your breath on?" And that's where Batman says, "Well, okay, I am a product of Thomas Wayne, who was a surgeon, who was somebody who would save lives no matter what. Batman is not that. Bruce is." And I think that's where he finally, accepted the fact that, okay, I am Bruce Wayne, cannot separate the two. Batman would not be who they are if it wasn't for Bruce Wayne being, living and having the values that Bruce Wayne had. So, so yeah, I mean, those are the two big issues, because most of what we saw in, Murderer was you were getting aggravated about the fact that he was just like completely just disowning the fact that he is Bruce Wayne, and throwing a hissy fit and not talking to anybody and not accepting help. Now things have finally changed in these first 6, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, it's a good first start. Like the stuff with talking to the detective, and he was like, "Here, finish this case for me." I was all interesting stuff. I was like craving an answer to this mystery by this point. Like, I'm like, get to it already. I really want to know what the whole story is behind the framing.
We got to work through Bruce's stuff first, though.
Yeah, I was happy. I was like, I was thinking. I always think about things in terms of movies. I was like, oh, we're up to the part now where the reconciliation happens. He's his conversation with Dick in the Batmobile, where he's like, "I'm sorry." He was just like, "It's fine. I deserve to be punched." He was like, "I don't feel great about like punching my dad figure," and he was like, "Yeah, I deserved it. It's fine."
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a father-son dynamic between the two of them, but it's not a father-child dynamic. It is, this is something I crave with my own father, and I'll probably never have, but I wish my father respected me as an adult. And Bruce, Batman, respects Dick, Nightwing, as an adult, as a fully formed person, as a colleague, but also his son. And he's managing to at this point in the book, he manages to juggle all of those things pretty handily.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wish, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think a lot of adult men wish their parent would see them as an adult and not, like my baby.
Oh,
My
daughter is 20, about to be 21.
Mm.
And I realize a lot of times when I talk to her like she's 12. And I mean, I'm not condescending in any way. I'm just, I'm joking around, but to me, she's just never going to be any more than 12 years old. And it's hard to look at her and hear her talk like an adult. Colton, who is 13, he's going to be 13 in November.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I've called him Baby Colton since he was 1 years old, and he is 12. I call the dude Baby Colton.
I think I told you about a couple of weeks ago, before I went to New Orleans, I had a really bad week with my kids. Not that they were bad, but like they had become more vocal than usual about not wanting to do everything that the general wants them to do.
Oh yeah.
I talked about this. I don't need to go back through all that again. It was like
I don't remember.
I basically was like lamenting and mourning the change in the relationship between my kids, where they were growing up. They were demanding a bit more autonomy from me than I was ready to give them.
I remember you like not being able to keep up with them. That's you were huffing and a puffing, but that's about all I know.
I'm doing much better now.
Okay,
that's good. I'm still a giant fat ass, but like I can at least breathe. I'm walking after dinner now.
That's good.
We were in New Orleans, and I was able to, more or less keep up with them.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, what a difference curing your diabetes makes. So not curing, but like heal.
At least, yeah, right.
So anyway, long story short, like it was like, we're gonna watch this movie, or we're gonna go to this movie, and Jonas just kept saying over and over, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Like, why do you make us do this? And my daughter is more of a people pleaser and just kind of like, I'm just here. I don't fight, but even she like, oh gosh, I wish I had some say in what we're doing. And I was saying at the time, I was like, golly, I thought I had more time. They're not babies anymore. They're out of the stage where they'll just do anything I want them to do because they're so happy to be with dad. It's like, no, sometimes they're just not into it. And they would prefer to just, be on the phone with their friends. I remember when I was that way. Like, there was a point when I was a teenager where I was on the phone with my friends all the time. No, kids, this is before cell phones. So remember the cord, Jesse? You get it was in the kitchen usually. And it was about 12 feet long, and you were just walking around in the house with it. You want some privacy, right? And you didn't have a phone in your room because you're not a fucking animal. So you had to go get the kitchen phone with the 12-foot cord and go sit underneath an end table or some shit, a coffee table, and talk to your friends. And people could find you because the cord was all over the house.
Oh yeah. Just got to follow the cord. Yeah, follow the cord.
You kids don't know nothing about that, but I didn't want to talk to my parents either. I still don't, but I wanted to talk to my friends. I wanted to go out with my friends. I wanted to be away from my family, and I also didn't want to go to family functions or stuff that my parents. We're gonna go see doo-wop in the park at Small Tree Post, and I would be like, I would rather kill myself than go with you. They were like, you can stay home, then it's fine. I thought I had more time before my kids would get to that point, because I felt like I was older when that was going on, but maybe I wasn't. Who knows? So, I went to go see Ready or Not today, and I asked them, like, do you guys want to go? They're like, nope. And I'm like, okay, then I will pick. So this is the transition from their mom's weekend to my weekend, and I was like, all right, then I'm not getting you at 12. Then I'm going to get you at like 3 or 4 o'clock when my movie's over and I'm done doing what I got to do for the day. They're like, whatever. So,
they're okay with that. They didn't have to go.
Weirdly enough, so this week I said the movies I got to watch for Thursday are Pirates of Penzance, The Lovely, and A Prairie Home Companion. I'm like, do you guys want to watch Pirates of Penzance? And they were, and surprised, I was expecting them to say, no, I don't want to watch your favorite musicals.
Right.
Jonas was the first one. He was like, yeah, no, I want to watch that one. I'm like, okie dokie. So anyway, getting back to Bruce and Dick, like, there's a mutual respect while still acknowledging the power disparity between them that is inherent in a father-son relationship.
Yeah.
Which was nice, and I think it was handled well in the book. It was a long way to go to say that.
Yeah. Well, no, I get it. I mean, it's good to have the context. Really, that to me was the only two big notes that I had here for these 6. I didn't have really much.
Let's get to the good stuff. Come on, let's go.
All right. So let's talk about the second part here. Like I said, this is 5 issues. The issues are Azrael, Agent of the Bat, number 91 and 92, Detective Comics number 772, Gotham Knights number 31.
Agent of the Bat. Stop! No! Give me the suit! No! Agent.
Gotham Knights number 31 and Batman number 605. After failing to stop the increasingly unstable Jean-Paul Vallée, Batman pursues him as Azrael, driven by hallucinations of Saint Dumas, steals explosives and attempts to destroy a cliffside stronghold tied to his past, culminating in a violent clash that brings the castle crashing down around them. Though Batman briefly reaches Jean-Paul by assuring him Bruce Wayne is innocent, the moment is lost as Jean-Paul's fractured mind reasserts control. Both survive the collapse, but their paths split. Batman returns to Gotham, where Leslie Tompkins condemns the role he played in Jean-Paul's downfall, while Jean-Paul spires deeper into instability, seeking to reclaim the Order of Saint Dumas. Confronting its new leader, Lily, he forces his way into power through intimidation, even as his grip on reality slips, unaware that Lily is already plotting against him, setting up a dangerous power struggle ahead. In Detective Comics number 772, Sasha Bordeaux begins serving her life sentence for Vesper Fairchild's murder, fully aware she has taken the bullet to protect Bruce Wayne's secret. While struggling with isolation and doubts about Bruce's absence, she is approached by Amherst, who offers her freedom in exchange for falsely implicating Bruce. Though tempted, Sasha is reassured by Alfred that Bruce trusted her by choice, not manipulation, and she ultimately reaffirms her loyalty, rejecting Amherst's deal outright and choosing to stand by the truth, no matter the personal cost. Meanwhile, Batman tracks down Amherst and uncovers the full scope of the conspiracy, a $20 million government-backed character assassination designed to destroy Bruce Wayne, allegedly sanctioned by President Lex Luthor.
Yeah, this is the problem I have. Keep going and I'll speak on it.
All right. In Batman number 605, Bruce pieces everything together, revealing that while Luthor set the plan in motion, David Kane escalated it by murdering Vesper and framing Bruce to psychologically break him. David Kane, by the way, is an assassin who also is the father to Cassandra Cain, Batgirl. When confronted, Kane admits his actions were a twisted test of Bruce's morality, but Batman refuses to kill, leading to Kane's confession and Bruce's vindication. As Luthor begins covering his tracks and Amherst is silenced, the truth finally emerges, marking the beginning of the endgame and Bruce's reclamation of both his identity and moral center.
So, just a quick thing. Breaking out of prison is a felony.
But wait, he's Bruce Wayne.
I'm not saying they couldn't have gotten it dropped. I'm not saying a deal wasn't going to get made, but the legal scholars who wrote this fucking book skip a few things. Like, you can absolutely overturn. You can drop a case. You can overturn it. You know, and he was convicted by this point, right? Like,
hold on.
Wait. I can't remember where they are in the legal process. I don't
think he went to trial. I know Sasha did, obviously, because she starts to serve.
Was he being held without bond?
He must have. Well, I mean,
maybe.
I guess it had to.
He's like the ultimate flight risk, right? Because he can jump on a jet and fly to wherever.
Right.
So that's the most believable thing about this. But let's assume for a moment that So if the real confessor, if the real murderer confesses, they have to drop the charges against him, and he is released on his own recognizance. He's just released. Sorry, not even of their own recognizance. You're just freed. The problem is he's escaped from prison, which is a felony in and of itself. So it's like they don't have a murder charge on him anymore, but they absolutely have the breaking out of prison charge.
Right,
Breaking out of jail, whatever it was. And they don't address that at all.
No.
And they don't deal with the fact that they absolutely would have overturned Sasha Bordeaux's conviction in light of new evidence that somebody else confessed, and that she is no longer. None of the charges at that point are relevant. She didn't aid and abet a murderer.
Right.
Which, by the way, you don't get life. You don't get life for.
There was some real I thought that was pretty extreme. That
the world these people inhabited is like for the purposes of making these stories, it's so upside down and stupid. It like sometimes takes me out of the book. Like there are parts of this that I like, and there are parts of I'm just like, this is so dumb. But they wanted to make her an agent of fucking S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever it was. So a checkmate. So they have to leave her in prison and go through all that. I'll get to that when you get to it, but it's dumb. So here's the problem. If I had known this was connected to No Man's Land, I probably would have. Like, I don't think we needed to go all the way back to Nightfall because Azrael doesn't play that big a role in this.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that we should have read No Man's Land first, and any connective tissue from Lex Luthor to Bruce Wayne would have been nice.
Yeah, it's touched on a little bit, about how Luthor apparently was upset because Wayne made some comments or something about Luthor. I can't remember.
Like, blocked Luthor from rebuilding Gotham. And so this whole plan is hatched because Luthor was rebuffed and his ego was bruised. I would have liked to have seen Lex Luthor in the book then.
Yeah, well,
like if you're going to implicate Lex Luthor in being the mastermind behind this whole murderer fugitive storyline, he should have been in the book. There should have been a confrontation. It's like pointed at from 1,000 miles away and never really dealt with. And I want to read the books that deal with Batman confronting Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And where's Superman in all this?
I swear there's a book. Did we read a book where Batman messed with Lex Luthor, like his robots or something? Or maybe I'm thinking something different. Like maybe it was Wayne Tech had developed some type of security robots and Luthor had sabotaged them or something like that. Anyway, I feel
yes.
Yeah, this is something that I'm pretty sure happens after this. But I cannot.
I know we did the Luthor book, the one.
Was it Luthor? Maybe it was. You might be right. But anyway, I mean, yeah, you're right. I want to see Bruce Wayne / Batman deal out some comeuppance.
Yeah, I would like to see. Well, that's the thing. Like, to me, a better story, or I don't even know if there's one out there that, from a different book that's just not included in the story, where Bruce Wayne, runs against Lex Luthor for president, or runs for senate or something, and he's just out, or he's oh gosh, what is the billionaire that funds all the stupid Free Palestine protests or whatnot, where Bruce Wayne is out funding this massive anti-Lex Luthor protest movement, stuff like that. He's just billboards and shit like that. To me would have been more interesting, but I'm 100, so what do I know? Well, people listening to this podcast no, we just want to see Batman punch stuff. What's wrong with you?
And the thing is that this probably again goes back to what you were calling out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They can string things out in this form of comic books, and that's why when I was like, how come he is not just completely consumed with trying to get even or do something with Lex Luthor, but he doesn't really mention that.
The Lex Luthor as president thing, I'm sure it was dealt with a lot in the Superman books, but that should have been a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
And again, neither one of us knows. People reading comic books contemporaneously might be able to point to something where it's no, it was dealt more with in this book and that book. Who knows? I was missing. I can only speak to the story that we read, and I was missing it. If he's the mastermind behind Bruce Wayne being framed for murder, he has to be part of the story, and he's not, and that bothered me.
Right, but they also had a mystery that they were trying to get. I mean, they were trying to make it a successful mystery, and if you would have seen Lex Luthor in book 4. then you probably would have been like, okay,
Well,
I
no,
might
you
know
don't have
who's
to
involved
introduce him
here.
until now. Once David Kane admitted he was working for President Luthor.
Okay, so you're fine with that. You're fine with keeping him out of
No. I don't need to see him until now.
Okay, gotcha.
Everything that happened up to this point, I'm fine with him not. I don't need to see. What is it? That was Vince McMahon stupid thing with Steve Austin. The higher power. Like I didn't need to see the higher power until now. But if the higher power, it's like it was me, Batman. It was me all along. It's like, oh God, it's Lex Luthor. There should have been a confrontation between Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor.
Yeah. We have. Let's see.
Maybe do like a thing like in The Wire where he's just sitting outside the fucking White House. It's just like, all right, you'll see you just in 5 minutes. An hour goes by. It's just 5 more minutes. And he's, like 3 hours, he's just fucking sitting there. Like, damn it. He's the president. What do you want from us?
Yeah. Yeah.
What season of The Wire that was.
Oh, yeah. That we have 7 more issues in this third part. And, just like you said, there isn't much drive to go and get Lex Luthor. It's more like, okay, well, I've got to bring the most immediate threat.
They deal more with the Sasha Bordeaux stuff.
Yeah, and Cassandra Cain and David Kane, and got to get him taken care of.
That fucking annoyed me too. It was just like, oh, you got me. There's a joke amongst some of my older friends where they would go, oh, you got me, put the cuffs on. That's kind of what he does. He's like, oh, I've been found out and beat up. Well, I have no more will to fight you, so I will just confess.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck kind of weak tea is this?
Yep.
That the resolution in isolation, I'm fine with. The way the characters handle it, I think sucks.
I feel that Cassie had a bit of a hand in it. Like his daughter, who is definitely his estranged daughter. She's Batgirl. He's David Kane, the assassin. Talks him into it and is like, you need to make this right. You need to make this right. And he's like, okay. And then he goes and confesses. So there's a little bit of resistance, but not much at first, and he finally caves. He's like, okay, fine. Because there is a big part of this story about David Kane, who just gets kind of introduced here at the end, trying to make right by his daughter, who he has, neglected, trained her as an assassin. And I think we're going to find out later that he had killed her mom, maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's, we'll see how things go. My notes here. So I got Asbats is crazy. I love when he walks into Lily's, like,
hang on really quick. I'm going to need you to address these comments.
Oh,
Bruce Wayne is Batman?
Dude, check out. Wait. You see the avatar, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Good stuff.
What?
Welcome to the show. I'm sorry we spoiled things for you. Did not mean to. You should have stuck around for the mystery at some point. Yes, Bruce Wayne is Batman.
I never knew that, actually. I always assumed that, they were two separate guys. I've been more convinced because I've seen this happen a couple of times that Alfred was Batman.
Oh, it happened in this book, if I remember correctly. He was wearing the costume.
Happened in the '60s show at least 2 or 3 times.
But yes, Asbats, John Paul going to go and he has to. He's told by Saint Dumas to go confront Lily, who is the head of some order in. It might be the Order of Saint Dumas or whatever, but he goes in there and she like resists and he's like, oh, you resist, huh? And he like starts tearing her apartment apart, like her house, like peeling the wallpaper off, destroying statues, tipping furniture. And then he's like standing in this destroyed room and he goes, make me dinner. It's the greatest thing. And she's like, what? And she goes and makes him dinner. Of course, she's going to poison his ass. But either way, I love the fact that he just like straight up was, just absolutely bonkers. We have the introduction of Amherst here, who is kind of a, sort of a bit player. He's definitely involved in the whole Sasha Bordeaux thing. But yeah, he's the one where
I assume he's tied to Lex Luthor in some way.
Yeah, he's the guy that was put in like he got payment to Kane to do the deed pretty much. And then but I love the issue that he is in. Like, he doesn't believe Batman's real. Like, he's like, he's a myth, you know, he's not real. He's like some other agent that's on his tail or something. He can't come to grips with the fact that Batman is
no
actually
fucking sense. If
this guy,
I assume by 2002, Amanda Waller was a thing, you know, and Suicide Squad was a thing, and they absolutely knew who fucking Batman is because half the people in Blackgate or the Raft or whatever the fucking prison they were shoving people like Harley Quinn into that made the Suicide Squad came from fucking Batman.
Right. The other note I had here was Sasha's doubt. Like, she's, you know, again, still on the fence, thinking that Bruce Wayne had kind of Bruce Wayne / Batman had turned his back on her because he's out, you know, of prison. She's heard this on the TV, and Amherst going to her and saying, "Here, you just sign this confession." And she really struggles with that and the issue that she's in. And then finally, she makes the right decision and she signs "Go to Hell" on every single piece of paper, which is great. And yeah, I mean, this actually, the end of this issue, or excuse me, the end of these parts, which end on Batman number 605, that's the end of the Fugitive storyline.
Yeah.
Like, there is no Bruce Wayne Fugitive after this. Part 18, I think, is it. That's it. We're done. So I'm ready to get into part 3.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. So part 3, we're gonna divide this up a little bit here because this is, like I said, a lot of epilogue, but we're going to touch on a few different characters and storylines and wrap them up. So we'll start with Detective Comics number 773, 774, and 775. The title of this story is Atonement, and it's a 3-part story that runs through these issues. In Detective Comics 773 through 775, Bruce Wayne, newly cleared of Vesper Fairchild's murder, returns home determined to overturn Sasha Bordeaux's conviction, only to learn she has seemingly died in prison after a brutal beating. Refusing to believe it, Batman uncovers a deeper conspiracy that leads him to Checkmate, a covert organization that has secretly taken Sasha and offers her a new identity and purpose. As Batman wages a one-man assault against their operations to find her, Sasha is revealed to be alive but transformed, ultimately confronting Bruce over the betrayal that led her to her imprisonment and the emotional toll of his manipulation. Though Bruce admits his role and his feelings, Sasha rejects reconciliation, choosing her own path with Checkmate and leaving Batman to face the personal consequences of his actions. So yeah, we're dealing with Sasha and her basically getting
How do you
drafted.
convict somebody? I just now thought of this. How do you convict somebody for aiding and abetting a murder when you don't have a conviction for that murder?
I do not know that. Well, then, I mean, he had to have been convicted. I do not remember him going to trial, though. I remember him going to
no, because remember, like, Blackgate's the world's stupidest fucking correctional facility.
Yeah, it's like chicken wire.
It's a jail and a prison, and it's got men and women in it, and it's fucking retarded. Yeah, I don't think he didn't last long in prison. He was like, he got in like a fight and was like, I'm out of here. Like,
he left. Right.
Like, I'm gonna get found out that I'm Batman, so I gotta get out of here. Like, him breaking out of prison made sense to me. But like I said, if I remember correctly, because I argued about this in the last podcast that we did, that they were holding him without bail at Blackgate because Blackgate also holds pre-trial prisoners, which isn't a real thing. And people are like, stop, it's just a comic book. But no, it's dumb and it doesn't make sense. So he broke out of Blackgate. He was technically still in jail because remember, jail is non-convicted people back on appeal from prison, people sentenced to under a year.
Mm-hmm.
So he escapes from jail and then leaves her fucking hanging. Like, them charging her with aiding and abetting because they've charged. Like, I'm just thinking about this in terms of how the law works. I don't think they could charge her because they don't have a conviction on him. They can't prove that he murdered this woman. They have enough of a charging. I also argued they don't, but I don't want to get into the weeds in this and get out my, I told Erica before the show tonight, I saw a TikTok about how There's a movement now to get rid of college as a prerequisite to take exams for professions. So, like, you wouldn't have to graduate law school to take the bar. You could just sign up and pay the money and study and take the bar, and now you're a lawyer. There's like a mass movement now to basically do away with college. But it isn't necessary for a lot of things. But that's a conversation for another day. So I said, if I could just study and take the bar, I absolutely would. In my next life, in the next 20 to 30 years that I may or may not be alive, I would love to be a lawyer and possibly work my way to judge. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just thinking of what artificial intelligence is going to do to that whole field.
Yeah, well, that's where that whole line of logic came from. That due to AI, college won't become necessary, and they'll start to change things to where you can get to the gateway for professions by just taking tests.
Right.
Because you can learn the stuff on your own if you really need to. Anyway, so yeah, I would absolutely take the bar and try to be a lawyer. I actually think I could do it. My point is, I'm just thinking about, like I said, the legal process of how this whole book operated, where they had charging documents on him based on, you're holding a dead body. You're clearly
yeah. It was a little sus to begin with.
Right. But that's my thing. It's just like, do they then have enough evidence to charge her with aiding and abetting when they don't really have a conviction for murder just yet?
Right.
They have a charge. Dude, we charge people all the time. You can get charged for all kinds of stuff. Whether or not it holds up in court or even like holds up against in a preliminary hearing is subject to question. So like there's a whole legal process that like if you'll remember from some of our previous discussions of a particular show, there's a whole thing where Daniels is like there's a whole lost art to charging somebody and making sure you have evidence that's going to survive discovery, that's going to survive a preliminary hearing, that even makes it to a jury trial. And we don't do it because we don't really do a good job of collecting evidence. We do a great job of beating the fuck out of people and throwing them in jail and trumping up charges. But I'll tell you, I've worked in a jail where guys came in and, they were charged with everything under the fucking sun. And then I would look at their charges because it's public domain. I would look at their charges months later and like everything was like thrown out.
No kidding.
Yeah. Like you come into jail, Trump, with a dozen charges, you'll leave with maybe one, if that. I've seen entire whole cases fucking thrown out.
Wow.
Because you don't have it, because everything is evidence. If you don't have enough evidence to support it, the judge just throws it out.
It's one thing that I was kind of like looking forward to when we were going into this part of this story was we're going to get, I was all excited. I'm like, we're going to get the court proceedings. Like I was expecting this like a Law and Order show. Okay, they've arrested the guy. I'm waiting for the court case to happen.
Right.
And we do not get that at all. We don't get an issue of showing
not
Sasha.
From these legal scholars.
No. And I think they know that that's probably a weakness. Plus, they have all these other parts of the story they have to tell.
Well, I also don't think there's a lot of like, I don't know who's reading Batman in 2002, but it's probably, I don't know, maybe it was.
It's got to be,
but I doubt it was people really interested in the intricacies of legal, of the legal system.
But there's books that do that, though.
Sure. To my point, they may have been able to charge her, but the story is she gets convicted and goes away for life, which is retarded because that would never happen. First of all, I don't think they could get a conviction in real life. I don't know. I'm going around and away from your actual question here. They need her to be functionally for the story. They need her to be in prison because they need her to, for drama purposes, they need her to feel like I was abandoned by Bruce after everything. And then she reaffirms it. And then they wanted to do this thing with Checkmate because they couldn't just let the woman out of prison. She has to go become a spy. And then I just want to talk about their talk in the park, because to me that's like the best part of this entire book. I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you, Jesse. Read through this entire trade. My favorite part is the conversation they have in the park.
Yeah. I was actually just finding that issue because that conversation that they have is very important because she points out that Bruce kind of manipulated her into becoming part of basically her, great. I'm his bodyguard, but then he purposely allowed her to see the Batman costume so she could join him
Right.
side as Batman.
When it's like it was like she threw a wedding ring at him. It was like, I didn't want to know your identity. I didn't want this life. You manipulated me into it, and I assumed you'd protect me.
Right.
And then when it was convenient for you, you threw me to the fucking wolves. It was not like you broke me out of prison.
Yeah.
You know, like I completely saw her point of view.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I mean, she gets pissed at him. I'm looking through some of the panels here. I mean, she like straight up punches him in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, she is mad about it. And I mean, she tells him, I never wanted your secret.
Right.
I
That's
never
the lie. I
wanted
never
it.
wanted your secret. That's why it's like she throws a ring back at him. Like, I never wanted your secret. Look what it cost me. Look what I am now. Look what's happened to me because you gave me a thing I didn't want in the first place. And it's funny because the one good thing about these books clearly is not the legal stuff. But the one good thing about the book is it really does interrogate what it means to know Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, let's look at everybody that's part of the Bat family, right? He shows up to a circus, there's an accident, he adopts Dick, and then it's like, I'm gonna make you my sidekick, and I'm gonna give you a boy's power fantasy, but I'll protect you. And for the most part, nothing bad really happens to Robin, short of every once in a while you take a beating. But think about that, like you as a kid, you're like, oh my god, this rich, powerful man's gonna make me his superhero sidekick. Who says no to this?
Right.
And then the whole split with Batman and Dick is like, I don't always agree with what you're doing. And you're like, if I don't agree with you, and go fuck myself. Well, maybe I'll just go be my own person. And I don't have to deal with some of the moral quandaries. And I think he becomes a cop at some point, kind of leaning into I don't always want to be Nightwing.
Yeah, he's a dick he's a dick.
He's a dick. Private dick.
he is a cop throughout this, working at the Bloodhaven Police Department. So yeah, he's.
And then the tragedy of Jason Todd. It's like, I'm gonna do the same exact thing that this kid is trying to fucking steal tires off my Batmobile, and he gets him blown up by the Joker.
Yeah, beaten first and then blown up.
Barbara gets involved with Batman, gets raped and shot by the Joker. Gordon gets shot. I don't think anything bad's really happened to Tim Drake, but Tim Drake's already like in the dick camp of, I'm not enthusiastic about how
he's not. Yeah, he is not as close, you would think, as other Robins were, for sure. Very logical.
That's the point that I'm saying. It's just like, none of these people, like, he gets them. I don't want to sound like Jason in the Peter Pan argument, but there is a bit of, like, not sexual, but there is a bit of like grooming going on, of like, you're getting these people at an impressionable age, and you're like, come with me to this fairyland where the rules don't matter, and we go out at night, and it's and we're powerful, and we can affect change, and isn't this great? And like, before the kid like has enough maturity to really make that decision, they're in a pig hostage costume running across rooftops at night. By the way, and have you seen that costume? So I'm gonna wear all like gray and blue and black and everything, and like blend into the shadows, and then I'm gonna dress you up like a fucking
target,
bullseye.
Right?
Right. Everyone's made that joke, but so Sacha Bordeaux's line to Batman about, I didn't ask for this, you kind of foisted it on me, and I adapted as best I could and did nothing but suffer for it, you bastard.
Right.
Really powerful stuff.
And Batman did this. I mean, he did this on purpose. There's I'll read this little bit of dialogue here. She goes, and then I went through your luggage and found that compartment and your tools. Oh, I thought I was so clever. Like the world's greatest detective would make a mistake like that. Like you didn't want me to find them. Tell me I'm wrong. And Bruce says nothing.
Well, think about Bruce. I can't be close to anybody unless you're a costume superhero. Like that's the big takeaway from all of this is I'm so malformed of a personality. I have such issues with intimacy and relationship building that the only relationships I can have are as vigilantes. And fucked up thing to say about that character.
Right. And he even admits here that it was about controlling her too.
Yeah.
Like he said, I had to control you is what he says.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah,
which is a clear PTSD fucking symptom where it's hypervigilance. It's I have to control the environment and the people around me because I don't want to be further injured.
Right. So Sasha has come along from Sasha McHotpants, whatever you called her last time.
I have not called her Sasha Bedroom Eyes once, Jesse. I took this seriously, God damn it.
All right, good deal. All right, well then our next issue is a real quick one, and I don't think we have too much here to talk about, but I'll read the summary. In Batman Gotham Knights number 32, 24/7 is the name of the story. Bruce Wayne resumes his public life after the fugitive ordeal, throwing himself into a relentless hour-by-hour schedule that reestablishes his role as Gotham's civic backbone, reassuring the Wayne Enterprises board, supporting employees with personal generosity, investing in community-focused development, visiting Lucius Fox's family, and funding law enforcement initiatives in Bloodhaven, while quietly demonstrating the ripple effect of Batman's influence on everyday lives, from reformed criminals to citizens who feel safer simply because Batman's out there. As the day turns to night, Bruce becomes Batman, whose presence alone disrupts crime, saves lives, mentors allies like Tim Drake, aids the GCPD, and even maintains a ritualistic connection with Two-Face, playing some chess, before continuing his patrol into the early morning hours. By dawn, with Gotham momentarily at peace, Bruce Wayne returns to the manor to rest, completing a full cycle that underscores his dual identity as both city's public benefactor and its unseen guardian, operating tirelessly around the clock. So yeah, real simple issue, just kind of showing you Batman's back. Bruce Wayne's back. Batman never left. Bruce Wayne's back. So life in Gotham's back to normal. My other note was Tim Drake fighting the Nazis, which was pretty funny. He lays them all out and then spray paints losers all over them. It's good stuff. But anyway, nothing much to say there. You got anything that you wanted to say?
I mean, all's well that ends well. That's really it. To me, if I'm making the movie, the first movie is Nightfall, the second movie is No Man's Land, the third movie is this. It's Murder and Fugitive could be one movie.
Gotcha.
The movie, I end the movie with that scene in the park, and then everything else is a montage.
Yep.
And like a narration above it is just and Bruce, and and Batman and Bruce Wayne, learned they can't be one without the other, and that the world is best served with both of them doing the best they can. And that's it. That's the end of the movie.
That would be the end. Well, in Batman 606 and 607, we get Death Wish for 2, parts 1 and 2.
Skim.
David Kane set to testify about Vesper Fairchild's murder. Batman anticipates an assassination attempt and tracks a missing hitman, Deadshot, who infiltrates security and attacks during Kane's transfer, detonating explosives and sending guards plummeting from a bridge. Batman manages to save both Kane and a guard, but Kane initially embraces death, forcing Batman to carry him to safety while evading Deadshot's relentless pursuit through Gotham. Their escape leads to a final confrontation after a chaotic firefight with gun runners. That was an accident, where Kane, spurred by memories of his daughter Cassandra, chooses to fight back, shooting Deadshot and surviving the attempt on his life. Though now seen as a victim rather than a culprit, Kane refuses to expose who hired him, allowing the larger conspiracy against Bruce Wayne to remain intact as Batman reflects on Kane's choice to live and the consequences that follow. So yeah, we kind of catch up with David Kane here, and he definitely has a death wish. He doesn't care to live. And finally Bruce, confronts him and says, "Look, I'm trying to save your life." And he's like, "There's no life here worth saving." And Bruce is like, "You've got a daughter. You could do better here, bud."
That conversation is good. Hey, can you give me a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was dancing around an hour ago. Well, I'll fill the silence here. Yeah. David Kane, who is, Batgirl's father, their relationship, not the greatest. And we're going to see, and as we get into the last issue, that's going to come to the final resolution of this whole story and this trade. But yeah, I mean, Kane is, he feels there's nothing else to live for. There's nothing there. And Batman's trying to bring him back from the brink. Deadshot showing up here. When Deadshot first shows up, I didn't know that was him. I should have figured it out. He had these like little wrist guns. When I saw him in costume, I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely Deadshot. I was able to figure that out. But yeah, this is, Deadshot shows up and he's there to kill Kane. But I think one of the funniest things that happens in this book is where Batman has Kane and they're going to, he decides, well, we're going to go through the basement of the next building and get into the sewers and get the hell out of here. And he blows a hole and there's like 3 gun runners sitting around a table with guns all around them. And it was a complete accident. And so he ends up in a fight with them. And then of course Deadshot catches up, and then Kane and Deadshot have their Kane could have sat there and took a bullet right to the head, but he decides, like I said, he's seeing his daughter. He's starting to realize, she is something worth living for, and he fights back and shoots Deadshot square in the chest, right in the target. It's so funny because right at the beginning of the issue, he says, you wear a freaking target on your chest. It's like, you're an idiot. And Deadshot's like, well, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end, he shoots Deadshot. Kane shoots Deadshot right in the chest, right in that target. But anyway, go ahead, man.
It's funny. I think about like the silliness of comic book characters where, like artists and people conceptualize these characters like this is funny books for kids. We have to make them lively. We have to make them, so of course we're gonna have a guy who looks like a penguin. We have a guy, who's a clown, a guy who's the Riddler and he has question marks all over him. And there's like people trying to do this and like trying to take this in any way seriously. Like how do you wait? Let's have the guy called Deadshot walk around with a fucking target on his chest. It's a little on the nose, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I think once the mystery was resolved and once the emotional conflict was resolved, I lost interest in this book.
Yeah, I mean, this is very indicative of the first trade we read.
Yeah,
where there probably 5 or 6 issues really didn't need added on. And
I mean, as an editor, because it relates to the story. You said like a lot of this is epilogue. Here's the thing: this is an ongoing comic. This isn't if this is a book. An isolated, not a trade paperback, a collection of comics. This is a graphic novel. This ends after Sacha Bordeaux walks away from Bruce.
Right.
And they do the montage of him reclaiming his Bruce Wayne identity. The book just ends there. That's where the story ends. You don't need any of this stuff. However, that's not what this is. This isn't a graphic novel. It's trade paperback that collects an ongoing story. So for me, if you're an editor, like, well, this relates, I'll put it in there.
Right.
And if you're editing these books that are monthly, you're like, absolutely, you got to keep the story going. What other crumbs can we blow up into another 22-page issue?
Right. This definitely fits more than the last issues of the previous graph or trade.
So here's the thing: calling them Bruce Wayne Murderer and Bruce Wayne Fugitive. Bruce Wayne Murderer is a great story. How about just Bruce Wayne Murderer Part 1 and Part 2?
Right.
Like, if you're not going to put the whole thing, like you could see on the graphics behind us, this was the Fugitive storyline. So I think that was also part of it, like where the line of demarcation was, that clearly at some point they changed the graphic from murderer to fugitive. I think if I'm the editor, I honestly would have just called the whole thing Bruce Wayne Murderer and split in its volume 1 and its volume 2. And I'm okay with where they ended it if you don't use the words murderer and fugitive, because at the end of the book, they're like, we are going to solve this mystery. Like, he has told them to fuck off. The emotional conflict is Bruce Wayne and Dick fighting in the Batcave. And then the resolution is, we won't leave Mary and Pippin to, die at the hands of the Ark. We're going to go after them. It's that. I understand that Batman doesn't want us involved, but fuck him. The right thing to do is to clear Bruce Wayne's name. So that's what we're going to do. And that little bit of like, oh God, he really didn't do it. We found out that, because if you remember, the last trade ends with, they figured out someone was breaking into the Batcave.
Yeah.
And so that's actually, in retrospect, that's actually a perfect place to end the story if you don't break these up into murderer and fugitive. Because our problem wasn't like the emotional and narrative beats of the story. The problem was the titles.
Yeah. Pretty much. Well, rolling right into the final issue here, which is Batgirl number 33, Father's Day. Cassandra Cain is summoned by Batman to assist briefly on a case where she proves her precision and power by incapacitating a dangerous metahuman, but is quickly dismissed until she independently intervenes in Batman's pursuit of a suspect who mentions a mysterious figure named Alpha. And this Alpha is known only to her father, David Cain. Shaken, Cassie turns to Oracle, who helps her infiltrate Blackgate Prison under the guise of a reporter to confront him. Face to face with the man who raised her as a weapon, Cassie is overwhelmed by memories of her childhood and lashes out, attacking him, ultimately threatening to kill him if he takes another life. Despite her anger, she pauses long enough to ask a deeply personal question, which came up earlier that day. What's her birthday? Which David answers, revealing a rare human connection between the two. Cassandra returns to the Batcave expecting reprimand, but because she was only supposed to go in there, and Oracle was like, he'll talk to you. And all she had to do was ask a question, and she couldn't get through the question. And as she as trying to ask it a second time, she just decides to fly through the bulletproof or the glass and attack him instead. So yeah, she goes back to the Batcave and she's waiting for Batman to be like, what the hell were you doing? And she was pleasantly surprised when Batman says, no, it's okay. I understand. Forget about it. And he offers her a gift, and he reframes the moment as her birthday. It's the day that Cassie decided to become Batgirl, and it's a day worth recognizing. And that is where we end Bruce Wayne Fugitive.
I have a major problem with the trade paperbacks cover.
Okay.
Look at that. Let's talk about this for a second. The implication is it's like the end of the Dark Knight, where Batman's on the run from the cops because they think that Batman murdered I think it's Harvey Dent.
I see where you're going here.
So you would think, just based on the cover of Batman Murderer is Bruce Wayne in the shadows and and he's in pursuit, and it's a really cool looking cover. Look at this bullshit here.
Yeah, makes you, if somebody knows Bruce Wayne's Batman.
That's one implication. How about the other one is that the cops are after Batman somehow?
Yeah, right. I mean, why would they be after Batman?
And here's the thing, they're never after Batman.
Mm-hmm.
They're barely after Bruce by this point.
That's true.
Do you see what I'm trying to tell you, Jesse? My problem with this book and this whole story is a lot of what made it interesting was abandoned early on in the story. And there was a lot of filler, like Peking Duck Batman, and a lot of this, and the stuff with Kane. The last thing I'm going to say, and then let you close out the show. This both, I think, shows the problems of an ongoing comic.
An ongoing family of comics.
Yeah. Is you have to stretch things out, and it ends up lacking narrative cohesion. And then when you gather them all up for one story, there are things that should have been followed up on. There are threads that are just kind of left dangling out there that aren't really dealt with. So if you pitch me an idea of, we're going to do like a year-long story where Bruce Wayne is convicted, is framed for murdering Vesper Fairchild, and it's like a giant mystery as to who did it, and there's going to be a lot of like red herrings and subterfuge, and like the Bat family's not going to know if he did it, and Batman's not going to tell him anything because he can't, because if he talks too much, he doesn't know who he can trust. Maybe somebody from the Bat family framed him, who knows? So like that's the crux of this thing. Great, that's a great story. That should have been a graphic novel, not this year-long, collection of a dozen different titles trying to keep this beach ball in the air.
Yeah.
I think a second pass and keep it tightly wound and very isolated from the actual like ongoing comic books and just make it one cohesive story. I think there was a lot here. I think it suffers from overexposure.
Yeah. I mean,
but you can't get out of it because it's an ongoing comic book series.
Right, dude. I think again, this is the early 2000s. We're just coming out of the 90s here. I mean, my goodness, if there was one thing that I remember the 90s for, and I think it was the one thing that broke was it you or your dad from collecting comics? And that was
my father, yes.
Yeah, that was the multi-title crossover where in order to read one story, you had to buy
multiple covers, by the way.
Yeah. He didn't like variant covers.
He did not.
But yeah, I mean, you had to purchase, if you wanted to follow this story, the little puzzle pieces at the top let you know that this is Bruce Wayne Fugitive, Bruce Wayne Murderer, whatever.
Think about like Acts of Vengeance. Acts of Vengeance didn't even have a central title.
Right, dude.
Like Secret Wars or Secret Wars 2 or Inferno or I can't even think of what the other big crossovers were at the time. But
Inferno did not. Inferno was definitely over X-Men, X Factor, Excalibur.
That didn't have a central title.
Did not, no. But the other, Secret Wars 2, yeah, that definitely did. Crisis on Infinite Earths. I touched other things, but it definitely had a core title.
Civil
War, yep.
So at the very least, if you didn't want to, theoretically, you could have just read the individual core title of whatever the event title, whatever it was, and gotten just enough of a gist that you could get through the story. If you wanted to be an insane person and buy every single comic, what a scam. If you could just buy every single comic that had in the little corner, whatever the stupid title was, you could, but you didn't have to. And if you just wanted to, I just want to read Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Black Widow, and I'm not going to read anything else, you could still do that. You didn't necessarily need to read every single thing associated with the event. And when they made it to where you kind of had to, that's when my father was like, I'm not falling for your fucking scam anymore.
Right.
They take your variant covers and shove them up your ass.
This is, they were. This was definitely a money making scheme, and believe it or not, I don't know if you can see on the covers here if you look at the top right, each of the top right, if it was part of Bruce Wayne Fugitive and possibly Murderer, I don't know, but they have a puzzle piece. If you collected all the issues, I don't think you could detach the puzzle piece, but if you collected all the issues, that issue cover with all the puzzle pieces together that show you Luthor are those puzzle pieces constructed together that are on the top of these issues. So that's the big, that's a gimmick of some sort that was, I think that's actually pretty cool because you actually finally get the big person who's behind everything. But you don't get much resolution to it anyway, because you hear, oh yeah, Luthor did it. All right, let's move on. So anyway, but I as for myself, as far as did I enjoy this? I did enjoy the bit of mystery behind it, aside from its shortcomings and all the, I think the unessential stuff that I read. I think some of the strongest stuff, me personally, I feel like happened in this volume than it did in the first volume. I think the standout obviously in our first volume that we discussed is Batman versus Dick Grayson. And that was a great a great moment where these two had come to blows over how they were how Bruce was handling things. And then now I think that I shouldn't even say this because again, this was 18 issues, but man, did it wrap up pretty quickly. Did Bruce Wayne figure out his shit in 2 issues? I mean, he figured it out pretty quickly.
You can definitely tell, like, this is written for an audience that likes the punchy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And is not really interested in emotional beats.
Right. Yeah. And I think as time goes on, again, this is the early 2000s, as we move our way into like the 2010s and stuff, people start to realize, Tom King's going to come along and give us PTSD Flash at some point, and we're going to have a big discussion about that. But things are getting there. So anyway, but I enjoyed myself. I'm
not unhappy that we did this.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I would have never read on my own. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do so and discuss it. So
at no point did I throw the book.
That's good. That's always
like right now, Nameless. It's not worse than Nameless. We're fine.
Nameless. All right, well, there it is. That's our discussion, man. Let's go ahead. I guess we'll go ahead and get into plugs here. What do you got going on over there on the
well, this is Source Material Live after all. So these are going to be live plugs. We are recording this on March 29th. Tomorrow, myself and Robert and Jason presumably are going to review Ready or Not 2. Here I Come, which I saw today. It was fine. It was fine.
Did Lauryn Hill show up or the Fugees at all?
I got that reference.
Hey.
Thursday, myself and Shay Tate are going to do a Kevin Kline live performance trio. The Pirates of Penzance, De Lovely, which is about the life of Cole Porter, and A Prairie Home Companion. Next week is Easter. You and I will be back a week from tonight. We're going to look at Happy Season 1 and 2. I have finished Season 1. I got to start Season 2. Season 1, more or less the book, with a lot of stuff added because it's television. Apparently, Season 2 was just them doing their own shit. Them trying to, keep this TV show on the air. Really,
there is no Season 3.
Yeah, and there is no Season 3. Should have kept it to fucking one mini-series and been done with it. But, whatever. A week from Monday, myself, Robert, Alexis, and possibly Zach will be doing the Super Mario Brothers Galaxy movie, whatever it's called. And then on Thursday, the 9th, myself and Robert will be reviewing the movie Bulworth because I want him to see Bulworth.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was something I can't remember. It came in the wake of something else that we had done, and I might have even scheduled it with somebody else. And then I was like, nope, I don't want to record with anybody else. So Robert's getting Bulworth.
Is this where Warren Beatty becomes like he's obviously a politician, but he's also a rapper or something, or they try to do something with his image, or something different?
Yeah, it's like him and Halle Berry and I think somebody else, and it's a weird movie. I think he directed it.
Okay. It is definitely weird. I think I've watched part of it.
It's kind of up there with Bamboozled, with one of those movies I saw when it came out and loved it and never watched it again. Where it's like I have this great affection for this movie that I saw once upon a time, and I want to rewatch it, all these years later and share it with a friend that I think will truly appreciate black cinema the way Robert Winfrey does.
He does. I mean, you can't get him to stop posting about it.
Robert Winfrey is too black, too strong.
He's too legit to quit.
That's correct.
Please introduce him as too legit to quit. Robert Winfrey.
Robert Winfrey. So that's what we're doing in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a good time. Well, hey, I should have took that time and pull up my calendar. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Source Material Comics podcast feed, you can hear me and Mark Radulich talk. Oh my goodness, where are we at now? I think we did. We just talked Cobra Commander. as when we're recording this.
Fucking
So,
January.
yeah, we just talked that, and that was the first book of the villain
Let
series.
me help you here. Our next source material recordings, it's going to be another hefty one. It's May 3rd. We're going to talk Incredible Hercules, Volume 1.
Hefty cinch sack. Hercules always brings some. I mean, he's a funny dude. So I'm really looking forward to some of the stuff, which I have a Suno. I know I've sent this to you. I have a Suno rendition of the song that he sang in was it the Daredevil book or the She-Hulk book? Remember the song where he decided to sing about how he punched a villain in the face and like knocked his teeth out?
Yeah, that had to have been She-Hulk.
Yeah, I put those lyrics into Suno, and I did. I'm gonna have to do a V5 version of that, or V5.5 of that, because it's him like singing like acapella. It's funny stuff. Anyway, I'll have to find it. And I punched him right in the face. So yeah, tomorrow is a syndicated source material for Daredevil. So you can check that out. Daredevil Man Without Fear. And the Unspoken Issues podcast. Last time we talked was last week, where we talked about the poll winner for 96 number ones. And that was our February poll. And that was Mr. Miracle, number one from 1996, February of 96. And me and Evan recorded yesterday a little bit of the Snap material podcast where we talk Marvel Snap, and we're going to record again here at some point here in the future. So with that being said, and check out Sessions. If you guys enjoyed the AI music talk at the beginning of this episode, feel free to check out Sessions. Last time we got together, we talked put together a song for Planet Hulk, and I can't wait to our next sessions because we're going to get to make use of V5.5 of Suno, and I have absolutely fell in love with it.
So see my notes. So the song's called "That's What Men Do," and it comes from me talking about something during our The Boys season 3 podcast, where I was talking about real men don't take mental health days.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that because Jackie's live-in boyfriend at the time took a mental health day, which meant I couldn't go there, and I threw a giant man tantrum.
And then I wrote a song about it. Want to hear about it? Here it goes.
Yeah, 5 years later, yes.
Want to hear it? Here it goes.
Here you go.
All right. Oh, there it is. That's all I got. Mark Radulich, take us out of here, everybody. Thanks for joining us. That's Mark Radulich. I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Be well, be safe, behave.